I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open, they're hiring, because I don't I don't think men or women are equal until we do the equal work. So no, listen.
Just because women aren't doing the physical labor that you want them to do does not mean they are not equally contributing to society. Period. Like, you sound stupid.
You are now listening to Free the Production with your host, Majaro.
What is up, my tribal people? Welcome back to the newly changed Free the Production YouTube channel. I'm your host, Majaro Kayoma, and we have hit 200 tribe members. It's thanks to you guys that make these videos possible. Thank you guys for your support. So you guys already know what I'm going to say. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to grow the community past 200, and by sharing this with your friends and family, that goes a long way in helping us do that. Now, let's get into the video. Just Pearly things. It's about time we discuss this controversial figure on the internet. For those who don't know, some people call Just Pearly things the female Andrew Tate. Some others call her the B-Tech bargain fresh and fit, because most of her content is based around giving male relationship advice. She doesn't call it advice. She says, it's entertainment. This isn't advice.
In general, I don't think that men should really take relationship advice from women.
Oh, you have a dating.
Interesting. I like that. Isn't that your job?
Intersexual dynamics.
Is that not your job though?
No, I don't give advice. Not to men on dating. I've said multiple times. It's like a misconception.
She has a podcast / late night show where she invites a whole bunch of women and a whole bunch of men. She gets people to, source those guests for her, and she gets them in a room and gets them talking about the hot button issues around, relationship topics and relationship issues and relationship, warfare, gender warfare. And her angle is basically the modern woman is too much of a masculine figure to be able to attract a high value man in terms of the mentalities of a male person, in terms of, got to get the bag. These are the masculine traits she's talking about. Got to get the bag, got to grind 24/7. I'm a career woman. I don't need no man. She's, criticizing those type of women, those women that feel like they can have it all, and in her eyes are unrealistic, because you have to either choose being a woman that just rocks the quote-unquote cock carousel and earns loads of money, or you can be the traditional wife that stays at home and raise the family. These are the only two binary positions she would like you to fit. And if you're on that side, you're the enemy. And if you're on this side, you're one of the trads, the traditional wives, right? So she has a late night show where she gets guests on and they argue most of the time, and she tries to explain with fraudulent facts and figures about her point of view and how women shouldn't have the right to vote. This is the same woman who owns a YouTube channel who rakes in millions and millions of views, and she released videos like every other second, video after video after video, relationship drama after relationship drama, gender warfare after gender warfare, internet beef after internet beef. There's racism this week, then there's sexism the next week. It's all mad. But on today's episode of Pre That Video, we're going to be looking at her interview with, I would say more debate on Piers Morgan's Talk TV. Let's have a look.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Pearl Davis has racked up a legion of online followers and plenty of breathless newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker? We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the clip that sent her viral.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has slept with over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days. So I understand the complaint.
Before we get into what she's going to say right now, let's address some of those facts and figures that she's reported on. First off, why does it matter? Why are those things such a big deal for her? I mean, I know for a fact she hasn't met some of those criterias. So, what are we talking about here? Just because you don't tick this or tick that, you can't get a man? Because we all know that's fucking cap. We all know that's cap. Men aren't that complicated, trust me. Like, if you're a good-hearted person, if we get along, if we've got a connection, if there's trust, and there's, honesty and transparency and communication, and you both are attracted to each other, that's all that really matters. And if you work together as a good team, that's all that matters. All these other extra, checklists, or not even checklists, wish lists, is just not necessary. But she's the type of woman to talk about how women are unrealistic with their checklist of, 6'4", gotta earn X, Y, and Z, which is true, but at the same time, you can't have this double standard. If we're telling women to be realistic, let's tell men to be realistic as well. Like, come on now, what are we talking about?
Okay, well, Pearl joins me now alongside political journalist Ava Santini, who was nodding furiously on to everything she heard. Right, Pearl, you've been called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Well, I take it as a compliment. I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about. But overall, I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men. Okay, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to remove, just from yourself, the right to vote?
Yeah.
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, why would women not? No, it's true. It's true. If you look it up.
At the time.
At the time.
Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women advocated for it was because they believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. Before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
Well, what's that got to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility. Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society run. So I just think if we want an equal say in society...
No. Stop it. That's big cap. Stop the cap.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No bullshit.
That is true in terms of a lot of men do those physical labor jobs like building, construction, demolition, military, law enforcement, deep sea diving, oil rigging. Yeah, that's true. Because they're just physically able to do that. However, if there weren't women at home or women in healthcare, women in childcare, women in other roles, teaching, nursing, doctors, if they weren't women in those roles that have a different skill set that's required, the society won't function either.
On 24 October 1975, Icelandic women went on strike for the day to demonstrate the indispensable work of women for Iceland's economy and society, and to protest wage discrepancy and unfair employment practices. It was then publicized domestically as Women's Day Off. Participants, led by women's organizations, did not go to their paid jobs and did not do any housework or child rearing for the whole day. 90% of Iceland's female population participated in the strike. Iceland's parliament passed a law guaranteeing equal pay the following year.
Just because women can't, or women aren't especially great at this and more men do that, doesn't mean that there's not that same dynamic on the other side. Like, she complains about extreme feminists, but she's just on the other side. She's just extreme on the other side. She's talking about, extreme feminists are X, Y, and Z. They want it both ways. They want their cake and eat it too. How come there's female privilege here, female privilege there, without acknowledging there's male privilege as well. So, we are not the same. We are different, but we are both equal and necessary for society to function. So, that's definitely a flawed view.
Then be equal. Do 50% of the hard jobs. Be 50% of the military. In the U.S., they're fined $250,000 if they don't join selective service, which is essentially the draft.
Okay, but specifically on the vote, what would having the right to vote have to do with family cohesion, for example?
Well, because again, before you weren't trying to divide a family. It was one family unit. You had one vote for the family. I mean, I don't think it's good for a family to have two votes.
Ava, your mouth seems to have dropped about.
No, do you know what it's sort of like?
I know.
It's just sort of a bit galaxy brain. I feel like, this.
It's bad for a family to have two votes? What? That makes no sense. So, I don't know whether she's trying to be subliminal, make a dig at women having equal say in their relationships. But what, do you expect women to just be backup dancers and just support to their relationships? Like, women ain't involved in relationships and have input and have necessary contributions to make that both parties have to consider.
So you're putting down are perhaps correct in some universe.
Which stats?
They just kind of don't really add up. I mean, just to take you back to the to the women's writings that you've allegedly read. I mean,
allegedly. What do you mean allegedly?
At the time that you're talking about, women weren't really allowed to write. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Yes, they were.
Write.
Yes, they were. That's incorrect. The first female property owner was in the 1600s. The idea that women couldn't work and couldn't
just because there's one anomaly doesn't mean that that's the standard for all women at that time. Just because there's one LeBron James doesn't mean there's 5,100 LeBron James in the world. Like, come on now.
So sorry, but that will be inherited property.
The first female millionaire was in the late 1800s.
And was that inherited?
No, it wasn't. It was self-made.
Yes, it was.
Self-made. Yes, it
and
was.
She never inherited land.
Yes, she did not
inherit it.
What
law permitted that?
What
law permitted that?
Well, there was no law. I mean, there's always been women that were influential in history.
Let's get on to the vote. So what I don't understand is, a part of your message, I've researched you today, and hang on a minute.
Okay.
Your big push is that you care about men and you don't think that men are getting enough of a say. But hang on, I haven't made the point yet. Because of feminism, okay? What I wonder is when you start making calls out like repeal the 19th, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. How is that helping young men? Because these young men have women in their lives. They have mothers, they have sisters, they have teachers. And they turn around, they don't know how to act around women because you're giving them license to be misogynistic.
I wouldn't call it misogynistic. I say be equal. So again, men do all of the
feminists.
Well, then, okay, I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open. They're hiring because I don't think men or women are equal until we do the equal work. So no, listen.
Just because women aren't doing the physical labor that you want them to do does not mean they are not equally contributing to society. Period. Like, you sound stupid. I'm sorry, but for a woman who's in the workplace and in society and is making a living off doing work and she's saying these things, makes zero sense. She works harder than some men that I know. Because there's loads of videos I've seen her seen her produce. Like, fucking hell, there was even one late night show that she had one of my boys, Sean. Shout out to Sean. He was on Just Pearly Things the other month, and I was like, wow, this woman is doing her thing. And you have to commend that. That's work ethic. So what you're saying, because you're not in the oil rig, you're not contributing or you're not making an impact. Come on now. What are we talking about?
Go apply to be on the oil rigs. Go be a plumber. Go be an electrician. Go be on the front lines of the military. And then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing to do that, I don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, well, I don't think that I'm physically built for that. You might be, but I'm absolutely not. You said you were valuable.
Wow.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. She has to take a sip of that water real quick. Hey, that's sly dig, you know. This is how girls be, you know. Girls get away with this. Like, imagine a guy said that. He could never. He get cancelled real quick. Well, this is how women fight dirty. Just a little sly dig, and she had to take a quick sip.
For a volleyball player, and so you've got more strength than I do. I don't think.
But
that
I don't have more strength. I don't have more strength than the average man. I'm not going to take your right away. I don't have more strength than the average man. But again, it goes back to go be a plumber. You want to be equal, go be equal.
But you want divorce to be made illegal.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because I don't think what we have today is really marriage. What is marriage? It's for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. That's what marriage is supposed to be. But feminists have ruined marriage for the people that actually believe in marriage.
How?
When there's a 50% divorce rate and the average marriage
why is that all down to the women, though?
I didn't say that it was all down to the women.
So why
should it be illegal?
You asked why I want divorce to be banned.
Yeah.
Can I finish that first? So I'm saying, the people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin? So you wouldn't be able to get married.
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin, and so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
And that's a fair complaint. I wish I was. But, we can't go back. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, but I just don't think it's fair that you get to be here and you get to be paid for your views, and you're telling other women that they shouldn't be allowed to.
I think,
hang on. That's big facts. That's big facts. She out here saying that women shouldn't have the right to vote, shouldn't be able to get divorced if they want it, should have to work in physical demanding jobs, but she doesn't do neither of them. She doesn't work a physically demanding job. She sits comfortably on the couch editing or even producing because she's got loads of people to do a lot of work for her. So she can just sit there comfortably and do her work and be a personality. But other women have to be in the trenches, be on the oil rigs for them to be able to say and justify to you why they're equal to men and why they have equal contributions to society. Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying. It's giving hypocrisy, as the good old Whitney says.
Hang on. Okay, if I may, at some stage jump in. Isn't the whole point of being a feminist, though, that women are entitled to have their own views?
Absolutely.
So she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, but you can't.
You might not like them.
But I'm here to challenge
Isn't she exercising her right as are you a feminist?
No, I am not.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. Don't go that far.
You don't want to be a feminist?
No, because I think if feminists really believed in equality, but you guys don't, I would love for you. There is an oil rig hiring. There is an engineering.
I would actually love to see Ava Satin on an oil rig. Seriously.
There is a building being built next to my building. Go do it, feminists. Go do it. And me, I'm
doing the same job that I'm doing right now.
When you find the man you want to get married to, are you saying you will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life?
Yes, for the vows that we're supposed to live by.
How do you know you can keep them?
I mean, I think it's a choice. And that's the thing, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
Ava, I've got to say, it's a little bit listening to Andrew Tate, where some of it I really don't agree with. I don't agree with the vote stuff. When I hear things like that, I think there'll be a lot of people, especially older generation women perhaps, who think, you know what, she's got a point.
Well, I mean, I believe in agency, so I think that if a woman is going to look after her children in divorce, that's absolutely fine. I also believe in your right to speak your mind about it. What I don't understand,
I'd like to say, even before the 1920s,
do you know what I mean?
Women could speak openly. This idea that women couldn't talk, the last 500 years. There have been women throughout
the American
history
state
that
education system has failed before, and it's failing now.
There have been women throughout history that have read, written, and been very influential in society.
Okay.
So this idea like women could never do it.
Do you know what I don't understand though?
Okay. If you're giving them credit for being, if you're taking those outliers and making them examples as, you know, them having the ability to speak their mind and be, like you say, influential, how come you can't use those same examples and project that onto the rest of the female species or female gender and say, okay, if I can find 15 people or 15 women that have contributed and equal to society, there must be a couple more out in the world that are actually contributing, instead of framing the whole modern woman as basically children sucking on the teat of men, essentially. So I don't even understand what your argument is. Women have too much power and they've corrupted the world, but men own and are working in a lot of the most influential areas in the world, and it doesn't make sense. I'm trying to unpick what she's saying, but it feels like she's just contradicting each other or contradicting herself.
It's spiteful, okay? Because you put down a few arguments that I think are perfectly, like, you know, they're kind of evangelical and they're Christian, but those are your right to say it. What I don't understand is when it kind of seeps into this sort of, you call women fat, you say that they shouldn't have abortions, you say that they have STDs. You know,
I mean, the question is, are they fat? Yes or no? The average American woman is 170 pounds. That's objectively overweight.
I mean, let's be honest. We now celebrate morbid obesity as some kind of body positive thing, and it is complete nonsense. So actually, on that point again, there's a bit of truth in that.
And this is the problem.
How have we come to celebrate morbid obesity as body positive? It's nonsense.
We're not talking about morbid obesity. I was actually watching your podcast earlier, and you spoke to someone who was, I would say, probably a size 12, and you called her fat, obese, and a divorcee.
She was fat, obese, and a divorcee.
wasn't.
I mean, like, I don't know what to say. This is the thing, women, we don't want to live in reality. We don't want to say things that are true. Was she fat? Yes. Was she a divorcee? Yes. These things are just objective facts.
Okay.
And this is where you see the difference between the rhetoric and polarization that you see online in terms of extreme views, like women shouldn't get the right to vote, women should be able to get divorced, you know, in sickness and health, you know, to death do us part. Women shouldn't be able to do this, women shouldn't be able to do that. But in the real world, that shit don't matter. No one's thinking, okay, well, let me look at the content that I've, you know, replayed in my head 1,000 times, and let me act on this real life situation how I should act according to just Pearly things in the internet. Let me take her advice and let me do what she says and address this woman in the way that she says I should address her. Call her all the exploitatives under the world, and I'm going to get positive results. No man does that. So what she says is just wholly unrealistic, because no one does this. That's just rhetoric. That's just the red pill grift that she's just on. She's trying to preach this to the world, like, you know, men, you should do this, and this is how you should feel about, you know, women who are in this category and X, Y, and Z. Meanwhile, she doesn't fit half of those categories herself. So, like I said, what are we talking about here?
I'm going to have to objectively...
And she insulted me first. They always do.
I'm going to have to objectively end the debate, but it's an interesting conversation. I think we should get you two back together as a matter of urgency. Thank you very much, Pearl. Thank you, Ava.
Piers Morgan might offer a job on the panel, so you might be seeing more of Just Pearly things on Piers Morgan's new program. But what do you think? Do you feel like women have got too much power and we need to recall all those rights? They shouldn't be able to vote. They shouldn't be able to X, Y, and Z. Or do you feel like she's absolutely bonkers and she's just chatting out of her ass? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you guys for all your love and support. Like I say, keep on liking, subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
I be kidding on my foes, even though I got it all on my own. Success sweet, yeah, it tastes like honeycomb. Dropping blood.